documents that had previously been from Twitter's secret files and that are no longer secret, that shed a great deal of light on what I have long regarded and still regard as the greatest journalistic scandal of at least the last decade, which is the fact that a CIA lie was manufactured in the days leading up to the 2020 presidential election. A lie that was manufactured in order to suppress and discredit and ultimately censor, brute censor, reporting that reflected poorly on Joe Biden. And these new documents shine light, significant light, on how that censorship, first by Twitter and then ultimately by Facebook, was the byproduct of clear collusion, clear collaboration by the Biden campaign and Democratic Party officials on the one hand, and the highest level Twitter executives on the other, apparently done without the knowledge of CEO Jack Dorsey. And I want to go over some of these documents. I want to discuss with you what they reveal, the reason why they're so significant. And before I do that, though, I just want to remind you of some of the key points about this story, because it has truly been disappeared by most of our corporate media that simply just doesn't discuss anymore the extraordinary fact that big tech, led by Twitter, ended up censoring any discussion of serious reporting that reflected on the ethical problems of the leading presidential frontrunner, now the President of the United States, Joe Biden, all based on an absolute lie that came out of the bowels of the CIA and that was ultimately spread and ratified by our nation's leading corporate media outlets, namely that the documents on which that reporting was based came from a laptop, Hunter Biden's laptop, that in the words of the CIA and the ex-intelligence officials who disseminated it was, quote, Russian disinformation. A claim that contained within it two separate claims. One, that it was in some way the byproduct of actions by the Russian government. And second, disinformation, that somehow these documents were fraudulent or forged or in some other way deceitful. And it turns out, as even these media outlets now admit, now that they fulfilled their goal of getting Donald Trump defeated and Joe Biden elected in 2020, they all now admit, after nothing can be done about it, that all along that claim was an absolute lie. Russia had nothing to do with the production of these documents, nor the reporting, and that far from disinformation, these documents, especially the critical ones that shine so much light on what Joe Biden was doing in attempting to pursue lucrative deals in Ukraine and China, using the influence he wielded as vice president and may wield as president in the future, that so much, all those critical documents were not at all disinformation, let alone Russian disinformation, were in fact fully authentic. And so when you look back on what happened, the collusion of the U.S. security state, which invented the lie, the corporate media that disseminated and ratified it despite having no proof that it was true and despite now admitting it was a lie, and then finally big tech, which censored the story. And I don't mean just somewhat discouraged, I mean they brute censored the story. Twitter actually implemented technology that blocked you from any link to the New York Post reporting, even in private messages. I'll never forget that day when I went to go discuss the reporting with a friend who's a reporter in the media to discuss with him the New York Post story, and I showed him a link to the New York Post reporting, or I tried to anyway, and a message popped up saying, this link cannot be posted because it has been deemed by Twitter to be unsafe.